Welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today we have with us Jason Williamson. How are you, Jason?
I am very, very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I always love jumping on, discovering new audiences, I would say getting my voice out there, but I really do love meeting new people and just sharing value. So I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, it's really all about that, right? And once you fall in love with that, I find that everything else falls into place. When you're service to others, like the puzzle is it comes together really nicely.
Yeah, it's very cliche, but it's very true.
Yeah,
like it's a true cliche for a reason.
Yeah. Like years ago, if when I heard something like that, I'll be like, what are you talking about? I was very egocentric, it was a different type of mindset, but I didn't understand it, right? But now I completely understand it because I live it and it does work.
Yeah.
I know you actually help others, and at the same time, things just work out nicer for you too.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's, you know what? It's a nicer way to live, isn't it?
Yeah, beautiful way to live.
Like I don't feel right if I'm in a room or with people and I'm not able to reciprocate the value that they bring to my life. So like I feel so much more at peace internally when I'm providing value to others. I'll actually go above and beyond to outperform almost in like, I want to give more value because I don't, like, that gives me more peace because then I can sleep better. I'm like,
love it.
I'm bringing value to these people, which brings peace to me.
Yeah. And, if we're talking about frequencies and vibrations and everything, you also when you're working with that type of mindset, you're also elevated, right? Like I don't know if you believe in all that, but it's for me, it works wonders, but you actually come across more and more people that you want to be around. If that makes sense.
Well, I'm a huge believer in energy attracts energy.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Love it.
Big believer. I've seen it.
Best friends.
Yeah, I've felt it happen. The story of actually how I got started in my business is actually I believe very muchly about energy and kind of like telling the universe exactly what you want, putting the right vibes out there, doing the right things. And it was the same. I was very muchly when I was fresh into the marketplace, I was jumping in all these groups and sharing all these videos of things that I'm learning, and I'm Facebook Living and I'm dropping videos, and all I'm doing is just constantly providing value. People now call it value vomiting, but it's such a stupid thing to say because it still is such a effective. Thing. Yeah, and I was an electrician. I was like 2 months from being fully qualified. And I kept saying that, I'm going to make plan A work. And if plan B will be that plan A works. So there's nothing else. And I ended up quitting my job as an electrician 2 months before being fully qualified. I just had to get the signature signed, but I said, no, I was burn my bridges. I burned my boats, right? If you want to take the island, burn your boat. Just constantly providing value. I ended up connecting with a guy who was in Los Angeles, and he was at an event called Pixel Mastery at the time. And lo and behold, I'd quit my job, moved to this guy in Sydney who was hiring me as kind of his marketing manager for a little bit whilst I got on my feet. And as I packed all the bags in the back of my car, I'd literally put them in bin bags. I'd put it out there to the world. I'd put that energy out there. And all of a sudden I got 4 clients that came to me out of nowhere whilst I was driving to Sydney. I'm a big believer in that was energy. I told the universe exactly what I wanted. I did all the right things and I connected with the right people, and that energy just like attracted to me.
Yeah. It's funny that some people would say value vomiting. It's unfortunate, and it goes much deeper for someone to say that. Like, I never heard it personally, but if they are saying it, they just don't understand that we are not alone. We're not, not alone. Like, we're not separate. everything is connected.
Yeah.
You know, everything comes from the same source.
Yeah.
Knowing that adding value and making someone else's life better, you are, you know, someone like that would say vomiting, they would look at it like, oh, he's trying to get something out, right? Like he's trying to, you know, there's some interior motive, if that makes sense. But really, when you're doing it with a pure heart, it goes way deeper than those two words.
Yeah. And I feel like, I guess some people definitely do it for, you know, if they've got an ulterior motive.
Yeah, they do.
Definitely want something. But you know what? At the end of the day, like that's where the energy works, is that energy you will be attracted, because I'm a big believer that you can sense energy like easily, like literally. Yes. I can tell, and I'm lucky because I did a lot of personal work on myself, and one of the things I learned is, like, you know, the disc chart, like the DISC, it's your drive, influence, steadiness, and compliance. I'm very, very, very high D. I think like I was like 94 out of 100 or something D, which means, you know, super hyper competitive. But then my influence, so the people energy, was like 92. And then my steadiness, well, stability, is like 20 or 24. And then my compliance is 4 out of 100. So it means I have zero attention to detail. But what that means, and this is what my business coach has told me, is that I have a very, very, very keen sense of understanding people in a snapshot, because I work very intuitively. But I can feel their energy. Like you can feel when somebody is genuinely trying to help you, or they want something. Yes. It is just night and day. And once you feel it a couple of times, then you get it every time. You're like, yeah, like
you become aware of it.
Yeah. It's so easy to sense, and people start to grasp that, and some people don't, but it is what it is. You know, if you don't believe in value, like, you're not my person, that's all.
Yeah, it's just a level of awareness as well, right? Like, you know, it's I was in that world before. You know, I would laugh at all this stuff, and it was just a level of awareness. I just didn't know, right? And then when you get the knowledge, when you start understanding how everything operates, and then you experiment, and then you start opening up to that type of awareness, how you sensing energy and all that, it starts becoming louder than words, you know. And when I used to hear this, I was like, what the hell, is this guy crazy or what? But now I just love it.
I bet you could meet somebody, and without them even talking, you can feel it.
Your name. When I saw your name right before I was setting everything up, and as soon as I saw your name, I felt it. Yep. And it's not like this. It happened before, and to see how, like, that's incredible that you can even, if you can pick up on because it's just that energy, right? Like we're part of it, and we're from that energy. Like we're made of energy, so we're a massive energy. So this is great. Can you tell me about the business that you're doing, and with all this phenomenal energy you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So. I've been doing e-commerce, well, specifically e-commerce, email, and SMS marketing. Mostly email, because SMS has only really just came to fruition due to, you know, software capabilities. I say, what I mean by that is we didn't really, like a normal everyday small business owner didn't have access to some of the software and tools that we do today. So it's made SMS more applicable, but I've been doing email and SMS specifically for e-commerce brands for going on 9 years now. And I'm actually upwards of about $150 million that I've generated throughout my systems. All the automations that I set up, all the manual campaigns that I send, everything that I do, I've been able to attribute probably over $150 million US. Amazing. 17 million of that actually just ticked over the other day. I work with a very big brand that a lot of people would know of. I try not to say names because a lot of the times they don't like it.
It's good. Yeah, of course.
But yeah, and we're literally looking at his SMS. Just one geo alone, I literally saw it tick over. I actually got a screenshot. I think it was like $6,000 or $7,000 away from 17 million total earned from text message marketing. And then it ticked over. So we generate just one brand alone, one geographic in Australia. They have generated over $17 million in the last probably 18 months from text message alone. So I love it.
That's incredible.
What I love about it so much is it's value, really. You know, that's what it kind of comes down to, is that it's value that I can guarantee. I have such a moral and ethical compass that I could never go into a business and sell them something that I don't know I can deliver absolutely phenomenal value. And I'll be honest, my prices are super, super affordable and super competitive, and I over deliver like crazy. And I've been told so many times to bump my prices. But I like the feeling, like I told you earlier, I'm a big believer in how you do anything is how you do everything, right? That's one of the crazy things I ever heard is how you do anything is how you do everything. Yes. Every time I have ever paid attention to that, when I see somebody do something half-assed, I go, that's how that person does everything. You know, I see somebody.
That's how their car is. That's how their home is. Everything.
Yeah. And I see somebody full on passionate, love what they do, go in, you know, head over heels just into the task. And I think that's how they do everything. And it's been so true. So with my business, that's literally what I've always done. I see how I can provide insane amounts of value. What is the tool that I can use? And then I found it, like nine years ago now. I found email marketing. Working actually, same brand that I was just telling you the story about is a good friend of mine. He lived in Sydney. And by the way, if I keep moving, it's because I'm trying to keep my hips like in motion.
You're a stander as well, not a sitter.
Yeah, that's the standing desk, but you've got to move your hips so you don't lock it.
Yeah, we start dancing.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm always like shaking my hips. I feel bad for the neighborhood. Like they just see this all day. We got a big floor to ceiling window so everyone can see straight in. But yeah, so I was working with this guy. His name was Murray Edwards, and he had advanced teeth.
Sorry to interrupt, but sorry to interrupt, Jason. Is it hard for you to show the view?
Yeah, it's like 10 p.m.
Okay,
you won't see anything.
That's no problem.
It's pitch black out there.
No problem. Go ahead.
Yeah, so working with Murray from he had advanced teeth whitening in Australia, and that's a guy who was like, hey, like come and run my business for a bit, like be the manager. Blah, 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 you know, I'll help you out and then, you know, get on your own feet. But he ran advanced teeth whitening in Australia, and I was literally an electrician at the time, but I'd gone to a bunch of different conferences. I actually originally started in network marketing, believe it or not. I love network marketing. I call it like the gateway drug of entrepreneurship. Right? So many people I know got involved in that. And then what it does is it expands your mind. And once a mind's been expanded, it can never contract. And I was seeing these everyday people, which was nothing. There was nothing special. Okay, we can figure this out. Come on, Logitech, we can do this. I said, God, it's still out of focus. But I thought to myself, these guys are nothing special, right? I'm seeing all these people making ridiculous amounts of money. And as an electrician at the time, there's actually, and I love to talk about this, actually. I miss it sometimes. But one of the key things I think was important and what I established when I was really young, and I don't think I've really ever told this story. So if anybody knows of me and hasn't heard this story, I think it's one of the most powerful stories ever.
That is on this show.
Yeah. There you go. You can find me on this show and you can hear the story. Yeah. So when I was 19 years old, I was 18 going on 19, and I wasn't actually an entrepreneur yet. I hadn't really got into that type of stuff. But I had like the biggest awakening in my life, and I was forced into it, right? So I used to work with my dad as a painter, and I was trying to get an electrician apprenticeship. And then one day my dad says, look, we're going to move to Brisbane. We're down here in Adelaide, South Australia. We don't really like it. We don't vibe with it here. My dad wants to move to Brisbane. And he says, look, I want you to come with me. We're going to build the business, and then we can move the family over. I says, all right, no worries. And I'd been to school for a couple of years. You know, I'd moved around because I'm British. I'd moved a couple of times, and I had about 20 friends. And I says, look, this is my last day in Adelaide. I'm moving in a couple of days. So I just want to go have some drinks. Everybody come out. So we got a bunch of people out, and then we had a couple of drinks at this one place. I didn't have too many. I think I had a couple. And then we ironically went to a bar, or we were heading to a bar called Heaven. And then as we're walking there, there's roadworks, there's things happening. And I see this girl laying unconscious in the middle of, she was half on the road, half off the road. So we've all ran over to help. I didn't want to go around the barricade, so I've tried to jump the fence to go over and help her. And as I've jumped the fence, a taxi has come out from the side street. I was halfway over the fence. He's tried to make the gap. I got my jeans caught. I fell straight forward. I caught myself on my hand, but I looked up and got boom. Hit straight in the face by like 60 kilometers an hour by a taxi. And it threw me back into the fence. And my friend says, my best friend, he's still one of my best friends to this day. He says, he ran straight over to me, and he was shaking me on the ground. He's like, Jace, wake up. Jace, wake up. And he goes, he was like slapping me in the face, like nothing was happening. He goes, I thought you died. He goes, you wasn't moving. You wasn't nothing. He says, I turned around and I said, somebody call an ambulance. And then all of a sudden he turns back at me and I'm stood up going, what the heck just happened? And he's like, Jace, get over here. And he puts me against the wall and my other friend comes up. He starts crying. He starts hugging me. He goes, I thought you were dead.
Oh my God.
And he goes, that's weird. Your nose started to bleed. And then it stopped. He goes, it is what it is. And then he hugs me. So I go into hospital and my nose is so busted up that you just literally, there was nothing. It was just a big balloon. And it turns out I'd actually fractured it into like 1,000 different pieces. And you couldn't see anything on an x-ray. So they said to me, hey, look, we don't know how you're alive. We thought you'd broke your neck. We thought you broke your back. You should have died. You got hit by a taxi, like in the face. You should be dead. We don't know how. It must have been that you had a couple of drinks and you were a little bit limber. It's the only explanation. But look, come back to us in 7 days. We're going to send you to an ear, nose, and throat specialist. And what's going to happen is they're going to check you out. They're going to figure out what's happened with your face and make sure that we get you fixed. A couple of days later, I ring up and I'm like, my head hurts. I said, I got a headache. I'm spinning. I'm not feeling very well. And they said, look, you may as well just go in. Seems as though it's a head accident. Just go in. And so I went in and he sits me down and I started telling him the story. And I wasn't even going to say it. It just happened to slip out. I told him the story about how the nose started to bleed. And my friend said, oh, that's weird. And he says, what did you say? I said, I told him something else. He goes, no, the other bit about the nose. I says, the nose started to bleed and then it stopped right here. I guess, I don't know, it's from the swelling. He goes, look, I never ever do this. This isn't a normal thing to do, but don't panic. 99 times out of 10, nothing's wrong. And he grabs a big needle about this long, like the needle's like this long. And he puts it right up my nose and he pulls out blood. And he goes, we've got to get you in surgery right now. And he literally took me from that room into the surgery room and they removed a blood clot that was right here in my head. And he said, you are so fortunate you came in because if you waited, if you'd have waited the 7 days, he goes, one of those 7 days, you just wouldn't have woken up and you would have just died in your bed. And so I tattooed that. I said, live for today as tomorrow may never come. I tattooed that on my arm. And I was so grateful because nothing actually happened to me. I'm healthy. Nothing hurt me. I got very lucky out of that. But the thing that I came out of that with is that I live for the moment. I live for today. And that's how I do anything and everything in my life is that I will live like tomorrow is never promised. And I think I was fortunate enough that I had this like impactful, life-changing event. But that's one of the missions that I go out there and I try and spread to people is I don't want you to live that way. A lot of people say, I want to stack all this money. And whereas money's important, money's great, money's awesome. You need it. Nobody has ever died and been 6 feet in the ground and everyone goes, he was amazing. He had $10 million in his bank. People don't care. They care about the fire that you set in their soul. They care about the value that you leave with them the moment that you're with them. And to me, that really shaped my life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. One of the most powerful stories I've heard on this show, actually. It was meant to be, right? And for you to spread that type of message now because of this story. And I'm surprised you didn't share it before because I would feel this story, should be shared as much as possible because it could help others because there's a lot of people that are not enjoying today. They're not feeling the fulfillment in the moment, right? So this could give them a different view. Yeah. But definitely it's powerful, and I'm happy and grateful for you that you're survived and you're here today.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
Your parents too. Your parents, right?
Yeah. My parents were like, what the heck? Like,
especially your mom.
Yeah, it made no sense to anybody. We're like, what in the world? And I think that's a big wake up for them as well. Like, and I think they really need to do better with living their life because they're still not in Brisbane. This is like 10, 11 years ago now. They're still not there because they, plans changed and everything. But I think it's one of those things where you literally have to live your life. And I actually got stuck into, I love Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Like most people. But I got stuck in a Gary's 24/7 hustle. And I remember I was dating a girl at the time and I feel sorry for her now. when I think about it, right? I was forcing myself to work so much because I was trying to be successful. And I realized that I didn't really love what I was doing anymore. You know, like I was creating work out of nowhere. And then that's what kind of woke me up again, is that I'm like, wait a minute, you know, and I've always kind of had this, my now wife knows that. She goes like, I live for the moment. I'm always 100% present. But yeah, I just love that anybody listens to that understands the message that tomorrow is not guaranteed. Like nobody is telling you that you're going to wake up tomorrow. Nobody's telling you the sun's going to come up tomorrow. No. Nothing is guaranteed. So live right now. This is literally what we have. And it's so sad. You know what I can't stand seeing? There's freaking people on Instagram who jump, you know, you're at dinner and they're all like, oh, like, you know, there's like 8 of them all like getting over the dinner table with their phones, and you're going like, y'all are missing right now, like physically missing it right now because you're too busy watching it through your phones. And it's crazy that you'll sit there and record it through your phone and miss it through your real eyes. And just, you won't be entirely present.
Presence is, it takes some time to practice, but once you start living in the moment and being present in each moment without placing energy in the past or the future, you're just taking in each moment. Funny thing about that is that it starts developing stronger and stronger and stronger, where you start falling in love with life in that moment. There's something about the moment, you know, like you're pulling some energy that gives you this different perspective and view and energy about each step and about each breath you take. You know, it's just, I'm forever grateful to come across this, and it completely changed my life. And I want, like you, to have more and more people to live in the present moment.
Yeah. And I'm a big believer it also makes you very magnetic. A lot of people can feel presence, and because I have friends of mine who spend too much time on their phone when I'm out with them. And it's unfortunate because when a good friend of mine actually recently came to my wedding, and we had this conversation, and in my experience, the way that I felt that situation was he has such a beautiful presence. And when he's there, when he's present and he's there, and when people don't understand when I say when he's there, they're like, oh, but he was there. It's like, no, he wasn't really there though. You know, but when you are really there and when you're present, I said to him, I says, when you're really present, I said, it's beautiful. Like you can feel it. You're loving, you're kind, you're warm, you're like, you're such a beautiful person. But the moment that you get in your phone, it just takes you away, and you have this big magnetic force that like pulls people in. But the moment you do it, it vanishes. And the problem with you having such a big magnetic force to begin with is when you take it away, it feels missed. You can feel that it's no longer there, and it becomes like a hole, and it has that opposite effect.
Yes. And you'll find yourself in that hole, you know, whenever, as soon as you start overthinking again, or situation happens, circumstance happens, and you get really, really involved, you realize, shoot, I'm out. You know, it is like I've fallen.
Yeah, and we're humans. We're gonna do it. Like people.
Yeah, you do it, but the great thing, Jason, is that as you practice, it does start to become part of you habitually. Like it, even in those situations, with time, like it takes a lot of willpower, a lot of effort, you know. But like anything else, but it's worth the investment, because I think the secret, you know, to my show success and growth is that, you know, and I can't explain it, but organic, I feel it. You know, I feel that the gravitational pull that I'm pulling. I just feel that when people are coming, I just sense that is happening. It's very powerful, and I'm grateful to have met you, that you're in that same world, because that phone situation, you can never imagine in a million years that by practicing presence, you will put that phone aside and rather be in the moment. Like you can never imagine before doing it. Like I would never imagine. Like there's so much. There's so many times that you want to go check some messages, and no, I want to stay here.
Yeah,
like that is that's phenomenal. There's something about it, right?
Yeah. Sometimes I will lie. Sometimes I'll put my phone in my wife's handbag. You know what I mean? We'll go out for dinner and I'll be like I feel a buzzing. I'll get like, I'll turn a lot of my notifications off. But even then,
yes,
sometimes
good
I'm
idea.
compelled just to open up my email or something. And we have this need for attention. We're in this world of constant, you know, barrage of attention. But even then, like one of my biggest tips, and I tell everybody, I say, look, if you're going out on a date, like you're with your wife, you're with your partner, with your girlfriend, whoever you go out with, even if it's with friends, grab that phone and put it somewhere that you cannot reach it and just enjoy. Like, and this is what I tell my girl all the time. I'm like, look, if you see me on my phone, like give me a little slap and grab the phone and put it in your handbag because I don't need it. I can go without for a couple of hours. But what people don't understand is that time and that presence that you give. I mean, I have a very happy relationship and I attribute it to a lot of the time it's understanding first her love languages, right? I know her love language, her number one is it's physical time. Like it's actually getting that undivided attention. It's that being in the moment and just spending that time with her. And then once you know that, and you know that, you know, you're jumping on your phone and you're taking that away from her or even anybody in the room, you realize that you're actually telling her, I don't love you, you know, because if I did love you, I wouldn't do this to you with the only few hours that you get with me every couple of weeks. Or like we go for date night 2-3 times a week. I'm not going to lie. I love to go out. But like in that moment, I don't love you because if I did, I wouldn't take this away from you.
Yeah.
So I always constantly, I'm like, hey, like I'll catch myself. It's like you said, I'll catch myself slipping. I'll go, I'll go, why am I doing this? And I'll go, babe, put that in your bag.
And then you wake up.
Yeah. And you go, it's good because
and you fall asleep, but then you wake up.
Yeah. And you're constantly in this cycle. But like you said, it's like a muscle. Every time you last longer and you last longer and you last longer and you just keep practicing. And you keep telling yourself, and it's like the old adage of like, you become what you think about most of the time. And you do, you become present. And I had a couple of friends of mine who I knew a long time ago, and then they met me again and they're like, wow, they're like the ground, you feel so grounded and you feel so present. Like, and it's such a massive change. And they say like, it's unbelievable the difference in being around you versus then and now. And that's what you'll do to people. If you learn to harness the power of presence, like you will literally become somebody who's so magnetic. And I think it's a lot of what we talked about, right? It's being valuable, it's being present, and it's living in the moment, like, you know, just being, and that's, by the way, that's not saying go do stupid shit like cocaine and drugs. Like, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like live fully 100% in the moment. If you manage to do those 3 things, you learn to be valuable, you live 100% in the moment, and you're 100% present to those around you, you will become so magnetic that people will love to be around you. And the last thing I want to say as well, and this is one of the things I live for as well, is I believe so strongly that when you have an interaction with someone, when you spend time with someone, there's 2 things that happen. You either leave them better or you leave them worse. And I always tell myself that I am going to leave this person better than when I found them. And if you do those things, you become magnetic. People love you. They want to be around you because what is it? I can't remember who made the book now, but he says when you make people feel good about themselves, they like you. And if you're being present, so if you're being in the moment, automatic, make them feel good about themselves.
Yeah, it's all energy. This is awesome, my friend Jason. So tell me, what do you feel your innermost superpower is that got you to this point?
Yeah, honestly, it's so crazy, and this is almost a good little story too, and I'll make it very short, but I feel like now one of my superpowers that got me to where I am is that I believe strongly that I'm very magnetic. I believe that I have a very good, charming personality that people are magnetized to and that people love to spend time with me and they love to meet me. But the funny thing is I wasn't always that way. Literally, when I was younger, my parents, God bless them, you know what I mean? They meant it in the best of ways. They did what they could in that moment with what they knew best. But a lot of the times, like one of my ex-girlfriends, when I was just learning, I was 18, 19 years old, I was not a very happy person because I wasn't happy. And the old cliche is I didn't love myself, right? But I hated who I was. And that made me angry. I was very kind of like explosive. I was very reactive. And I hated who I was. And then I'd be very, very reactive to my girlfriend at the time and her friends. And I'd just be an ass everywhere I went. And then it got to the point where nobody at my work liked me because I was an electrician. I thought very differently, right? I think like us, like entrepreneurs, like business owners, we're a different section of the world. Like when we all meet, we go, oh my God, these are my people, this is my tribe. I click so hard. But when you're away from it, and especially we got to learn to be better with everybody, and I have. But at first, when I didn't understand how to work with people that weren't like me, it was very night and day. And I was very unliked everywhere I went, very disliked. And my parents used to say things like, you're a bit of a dick. Like nobody really likes you. Even your girlfriend's parents don't like you. Even her friends don't like you. Even your boss doesn't like you. And I got it in my head that people don't like me.
Subconscious programming.
It was subconscious programming. And then one day I went into this whole self-development. I was about 19 years old or 20 years old, whatever it was. I was slowly but surely learning. And I broke up with the girl at about 21 years old. And it was a massive breakup for me because, I loved her a lot. It was one of my first real loves, I believe. And we'd been together for 4 years. And I realized how toxic I became, and everything kind of like in slow motion unraveled of who I was. And I went down this route of I was single for 8 years, and I went down this route of learning to love myself, like learning to love who I was, but also slowly but surely becoming better in every area that I identified that I need to improve. Right. But then one of the things that changed my life is, have you ever heard of Alex Becker?
I heard the name.
Yeah, so Alex he's a big YouTube guy now. Like he does a lot of crypto, but back in the day he used to do a lot of like training, like courses, online sales and stuff. So he was kind of known as
maybe even I'm not even sure how I heard about it. It would be funny if he was on the show before, but I interviewed so many people. But
Becca's not the type to know, I'm sure. No. He's one of those Chad guys who kind of just does his own thing. But you probably heard of him. He's been around for a very long time. Anyways. So I went to his Black Card Mastermind about 5-6 years ago. That's probably 4 years ago. And one of the things he said to me, we'd had a couple of drinks. We're all in this club, you know how masterminds have that kind of last night. And we sat in this club, and he's this big dude, millions of dollars a month. Like he's no issues with money. He's known throughout that. Everyone loves him. And he sat there one time and he said to me, he goes, I knew when you entered the room before I even turned around. He says, because I felt your energy, and everybody in the room's energy picked up. Like I felt that you brought the room up. He goes, you are magnetic. People love you. And do you know how much that broke every single belief I'd been taught my whole entire life? And I realized in that moment, it was honestly like one of those memes where like all the math died. I realized I was just with the wrong goddamn people the whole time. Mm-hmm. And then the moment that I got around my people, all of a sudden everyone loves me because everything I talk about, everything I say is what they believe. And that for me was one of the craziest things. And so I strongly believe that my superpower is my magnetism, but it's so crazy because it was actually my weakest point.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing these stories. They're, I'm sure it's going to impact lives. And it's super important to be in the right environment. And we see so many more people that live this way becoming successful. We see it all around us, right? But there's still so many naysayers. And there is a huge shift happening in the world as we speak, a huge shift happening, because there are people that are noticing in their environment that people are, growing like an oak tree. Mm-hmm. And they're realizing, wait a minute, maybe I should revisit my beliefs. Maybe I should revisit what I thought before. And that's what happened to me. I wanted to revisit because, and that's what someone told me, said, revisit. Maybe there's new information, maybe you could check out something new. And being open-minded, you want to check it, right? And I recommend anyone in the audience, you heard Jason and his story and everything, like get involved in looking into how to reprogram your subconscious, be in the present moment, and work with the energy. And you will see, once you start elevating your frequency and you start vibrating higher, you will see how things start shifting. And when you see a couple of things start shifting, you're going to know, okay, wait a minute, there's something here. And, your reputation is pretty important to you. Mine is, we would never say anything that was a lie, so
to me,
I'm so grateful.
These are basic 101s of self-development. And the other thing as well that we kind of touched on there a little bit was the environment. I'm such a believer in the environment impacts you. I do believe that you should learn to own your environment, but then I do feel like the environment can also, it can hold you down. It's like having a lid. Mm-hmm. I'm in Australia. So one of my main goals for the last, I don't know, I think since I was 14 years old, I wanted to move to the United States because I believe so strongly that it's my tribe there, my people. Every time I go over there, every time I network, I'm like, yeah, wow, these people are like me. They get me. Even my sense of humor, my jokes over in America, everyone's like, oh my God, you're hilarious. Over here, they're like, I don't really understand that. And it's like, it is cultures, right? So, but being around your people, being around your tribe, being around the right environment. Actually, by the way, just if all goes well, touch wood, I should be getting to America next year. I've put all the things in the works. It's been going for 2 years.
Keep in touch.
Yeah, I will do. But yeah, one of the big things for me is, and I love this saying, and I think anybody should tattoo this into their brain, is that you are the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with. And as a cliche as it sounds, again, a lot of the things that we're saying is kind of cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. And I've been, real. For as long as I've been going, these rules that I kind of live by seem to keep popping back up. And every time I realize that I'm not going where I want to go, I reevaluate my friend circle. I go, hold the phone. I'm not really spending time with people who are going in the direction that I want to be going in. And then I start to go, okay, I need to pull myself away from a few different people. But that's one of the things. I think the quickest way to change your life is to change your friends.
Yeah, that was the reasoning behind even this podcast. When I started it, I kept hearing, it's your environment, it's the people that you're around. What could be better than, having a show where you meet people like you and on a consistent daily basis and building relationships. Like there's, I love podcasting. It's a great avenue to create that. So that's one way, if you're looking to change your environment, is to launch a show and make sure you can scale it. Right. But Jason, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. Anytime you're launching something, if you want to share something, definitely get in touch with us. And audience, once again, appreciate you guys for joining us once again. You can see, you could sense, because vibration is way louder than words. It's way more clear. It's more on the point. There's no doubts. It's just the vibration. What you feel is true only when you start understanding what it is and start knowing how to read it and be one with it. But you can feel something with Jason here, so if you're looking to grow your business, his information will be in the show notes. Get in touch with him and the products and services that he's offering. I know we didn't really get into the details, but this is way more powerful than any of that, and if you want to do business, you do business with people. So if he has this type of energy, the products he's making is good. So give it a shot. Again, thank you, Jason, and thank you, everyone else.
Thank you so much.